My chosen one, pause everything right now, because what you are about to hear is not ordinary. God is crying and trying to reach you. His message is only for you. If you skip this, you will lose this moment. What's coming tonight will shock you. Don't skip God. Open this immediately by 11:57 p.m. before it's too late for you. You did not click this by accident. You did not find this randomly. Heaven has been knocking at the door of your life repeatedly, and tonight that knock becomes urgent. There is a window in the Spirit that does not stay open forever. There is a divine appointment that has your name written on it. And if you ignore it, you may feel the silence that follows. Listen carefully. God has been watching you wrestle in silence. He has seen the nights when you pretended to be strong. He has seen the tears you wiped away before anyone could notice. And yes, He has felt the distance growing between you and Him. Not because He left, but because pain, distractions, and disappointment slowly built walls around your heart. Tonight, those walls are shaking. There is something about 11:57 p.m. It is not just a time on the clock. It represents the final minutes before a shift, the last breath before midnight, the space between what was and what is about to begin. Spiritually, it is the moment when heaven says, "Respond now." You have been asking for a sign. This is that sign. And here is what will shock you. What is coming tonight is not destruction. It is exposure. It is revelation. It is clarity. God is about to reveal what has been hidden around you. A truth you sensed but could not prove. A shift you felt but could not explain. A person whose mask is about to slip. Archangel Michael stands in spiritual warfare at moments like this. When truth is ready to break through, when deception begins to tremble, he moves as heaven's defender. Not with fear, not with chaos, but with precision. If you have felt tension rising around you lately, it is because a battle for your clarity has been happening behind the scenes. You thought it was stress. You thought it was overthinking. But it was spiritual resistance. God is crying because He has been trying to protect you from something you keep walking back toward. He has been whispering, not that path, not that person, not that decision. Yet your heart keeps negotiating with what your spirit already knows is wrong. And tonight, the negotiation ends. Before 11:57 p.m., there will be a realization. It may come as a message, a sudden memory, a conversation, a dream, or even a deep conviction that hits you out of nowhere. When it happens, do not brush it aside. That is heaven pulling back the curtain. You must understand something. Moments like this do not repeat easily. When God intensifies His voice, it is because time-sensitive grace is being released. This is not about fear. This is about urgency wrapped in love. Why would God cry? Because He sees what you do not see. He sees the trap forming. He sees the betrayal trying to hide. He sees the opportunity you are about to miss if you delay one more time. And He refuses to stay silent. There is also something else. You have been feeling unusually emotional lately. More sensitive. More reflective. Almost like your spirit is restless. That is not weakness. That is alignment beginning. When heaven prepares to move, your inner world begins to shift first. Archangel Michael's presence in this season is not random. When exposure is coming, protection is activated first. You may have noticed that certain plans suddenly fell apart. Certain meetings were canceled. Certain connections grew distant. That was not coincidence. That was divine intersection. If those plans had succeeded, you would have walked into something that would have drained you deeply. Tonight is a turning point. At 11:57 p.m., as the clock approaches midnight, there is a spiritual crossing, a closing of one chapter and the unlocking of another. If you are spiritually alert in that moment, praying, reflecting, aware, you will feel a shift in your atmosphere. Some of you will feel peace flood in unexpectedly. Some of you will feel clarity about a decision you've been delaying. Some of you will feel the courage to finally walk away. And here is the shocking part. What you thought was loss will actually be protection. What you feared losing was never meant to carry you into your next season. God is not crying because he is weak. He is crying because his love for you is intense. He refuses to watch you step into avoidable pain without sending warning after warning. His message is that warning. Do not scroll past this moment in your life. Do not treat this as entertainment. Something is aligning behind the scenes. And when midnight strikes, you will either step into alignment or into regret. You still have time, but not much. The next words will reveal what exactly is shifting around you and why this night is more important than you realize. Beloved soul, the atmosphere around you is not the same as it was yesterday. Something has shifted, even if your eyes cannot yet see it. There is movement in the unseen realm, and it is centered around your life. What you felt as pressure was actually preparation. What you thought was confusion was heaven rearranging pieces that did not belong in your destiny. You have been standing at a spiritual crossroads without fully realizing it. One road is familiar. It feels comfortable, predictable, and safe. The other road feels uncertain, almost intimidating, but it carries divine alignment. And God has been trying to get your attention before you choose out of fear instead of faith. Tonight is about exposure, yes, but it is also about alignment. There is someone around you whose true intentions are about to surface. This may not be dramatic on the outside. It may come quietly. A sentence that does not sit right. A detail that contradicts what you were told before. A subtle realization that what looked supportive was actually self-serving. When this truth surfaces, you not ignore it. Archangel Michael does not step into battle without reason. If protection is active, it means something hidden is being confronted. You may have noticed a strange distance growing between you and certain people. Conversations feel forced. Energy feels heavy. That is not your imagination. God has been slowly pulling you away from what cannot go where you are going. Sometimes separation feels painful, but it is actually divine surgery. It removes what would infect your future. And here is the deeper revelation. You have been doubting yourself too much. You have been second-guessing your instincts. Yet the Holy Spirit hath been nudging you repeatedly. The discomfort you feel is not anxiety. It is discernment waking up. The reason God is pressing you before 11:57 p.m. is because hesitation has been your biggest weakness. He is breaking the pattern tonight. There is also a decision you have delayed. You keep telling yourself you need more time, more clarity, more confirmation. But heaven has already given you enough signs. The delay is not about information. It is about courage. And courage is being activated right now. Archangel Michael stands as a warrior of clarity. When he moves, confusion begins to collapse. If you feel an internal shaking while listening to this, it is because false peace is being removed. You were settling for less than what God designed for you. You were accepting half-truths because they felt safer than full confrontation. But safety without truth becomes a prison. What's coming tonight will shock you not because it is loud, but because it confirms what your spirit has whispered for months. You will realize you were right. You will realize the red flags were not exaggerations. You will realize the delay was divine mercy giving you one last chance to choose differently. Before the clock hits 11:57 p.m., create a moment of stillness. Turn down distractions. Sit quietly. Ask God to reveal what needs to be revealed. And when the realization comes, do not argue with it. Do not rationalize it away. Obedience in this hour will save you months, even years, of regret. And hear this clearly. Your future is not fragile. It is guarded. But participation is required. Protection is activated when alignment is chosen. If you ignore this call, you are not being punished. You are simply postponing what heaven is ready to release. There is breakthrough attached to your obedience tonight. If this message is resonating with your spirit, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video so the algorithm pushes it to someone else who needs this warning. Share it with someone whose spirit you know has been under pressure. Comment what you are feeling right now, because your testimony might unlock courage in another person. Subscribe and become part of this growing army that refuses to sleep through divine moments. When you engage, you are not just supporting a channel. You are amplifying a message that heaven is urgently releasing. And stay attentive, because what is about to be revealed next will explain why this timing is so precise and why the enemy thought he had already secured his plan around you. What unfolds next will make everything connect in a way you did not expect. Precious one, what you are sensing right now is not imagination. It is the unraveling of something that was carefully concealed. The reason this moment feels intense is because heaven has allowed the curtain to begin lifting. And once truth starts rising, it cannot be pushed back down. You have been surrounded by mixed signals for a while. Words that sounded kind but carried hidden motives. Promises that felt sincere but never fully materialized. You tried to give the benefit of the doubt. You tried to stay patient. But deep inside, something kept whispering, "Pay attention." That whisper was not paranoia. It was protection. Archangel Michael does not step forward without purpose. When he stands guard over a life, it is because that life carries assignment, calling, and divine impact. The closer you move toward your next level, the more subtle opposition becomes. Not always loud attacks. Sometimes it comes as distraction. Sometimes it comes as emotional manipulation. Sometimes it comes as a connection that slowly drains your clarity. And here is the truth that may shock you tonight. The exposure is not only about someone else. It is also about you. About the parts of you that tolerated what your spirit already rejected. About the moments you silenced your intuition because you feared conflict. God is not only revealing others, He is strengthening you. At 11:57 p.m., as that final minute before midnight approaches, there is a symbolic closing happening in your life. A cycle of confusion is ending. A season of half-truths is expiring. What you tolerated in the last season cannot cross into the next one. You may feel a sudden emotional release tonight. You may replay certain conversations in your mind and suddenly see them differently. You may notice inconsistencies that once seemed small but now appear undeniable. Do not panic when this happens. This is clarity arriving, and clarity can feel uncomfortable before it feels freeing. There was a plan forming around you that you did not fully detect. Not necessarily something dramatic, but something that would have slowly limited you, limited your growth, limited your confidence, limited your obedience to God's voice. But heaven intervened early. That is why plans shifted unexpectedly. That is why certain opportunities stalled. That is why delays frustrated you. You thought you were being blocked. You were actually being shielded. Archangel Michael's presence in this hour signifies divine defense. When truth rises, protection surrounds it. You are not alone in this confrontation. You are being covered while truth surfaces. And now listen carefully. What happens after 11:57 p.m. depends on your response. When revelation comes, you must act on it. Not emotionally, not impulsively, but decisively. There is a difference. Emotional reactions create chaos. Decisive obedience creates peace. Some of you will need to set boundaries. Some of you will need to withdraw from a situation quietly. Some of you will need to confront something with calm strength. And some of you will simply need to let go internally, even if externally nothing dramatic changes immediately. The shock is not disaster. The shock is realization. God has been trying to reach you because He refuses to let you build your future on unstable ground. He is crying not from weakness but from deep love. Love that refuses to watch you walk into unnecessary pain. Love that interrupts your comfort to secure your calling. You have prayed for elevation, but elevation requires separation, and separation requires revelation. Tonight is revelation. Before the clock reaches that sacred minute, line your heart. Pray with honesty. Say, God, show me what I need to see. Strengthen me to do what I need to do. And mean it. Because when you ask sincerely, heaven responds powerfully. If this message is piercing your spirit, it is because it carries precision. You are not randomly here. You are positioned here. Now receive this activation. Type I receive divine clarity in the comments if this is speaking directly to your spirit. Lesson code 444 is now released over your life. As you declare it, confusion breaks and discernment strengthens. And hear this final word in this sacred moment. When you sow into what feeds your spirit, you become part of the harvest God is preparing for others. The word declares that when you cast your bread upon the waters, it returns to you in many days. This is not just a message. It is a river of warning and protection flowing to thousands. If this revelation has touched you, then respond prophetically. You super thanks. Join the membership. Sow through the PayPal link in the description. Do not see it as supporting a channel. See it as fueling a lighthouse that guides lost souls before their midnight hour. When you give, you are placing oil in the lamp so the light does not go out. And as you release your seed, may open heavens respond over your household. May provision locate you. May protection intensify around you. Obey the prompting in your spirit and act now. Faithful heart, something irreversible has begun. The moment you acknowledge that this message was for you, a spiritual alignment started taking place. You may not see fireworks. You may not hear thunder. But subtle shifts are more powerful than dramatic displays. Heaven often moves in quiet authority. After 11:57 p.m., the spiritual atmosphere around you will not feel the same. But once felt foggy will begin to sharpen. Conversations will start revealing layers. You will notice tone changes. You will sense when something is genuine and when it is rehearsed. This is not coincidence. This is discernment being activated at a higher level. For a long time, you have relied on logic alone. You tried to calculate outcomes, weigh pros and cons, analyze behaviors. But spiritual battles cannot be solved by logic alone. That is why Archangel Michael's presence matters in this hour. He represents divine defense combined with divine strategy. Protection is not only about blocking harm. It is about exposing weakness in the enemy's plan. There was a subtle strategy forming around you. Not necessarily something dramatic or chaotic, but something slow and strategic. It was designed to make you doubt your own judgment. It was designed to make you feel overly sensitive, overly reactive, overly cautious. If someone can make you question your own discernment, they gain silent control. But tonight, that silent control is being dismantled. You may begin to recall moments where your intuition was correct but you ignored it. You may remember times when your body felt tense around certain people or situations, but you convinced yourself to stay calm and dismiss the warning. You not feel shame about that. Awareness is growth, and growth means you are moving forward, not backward. The exposure unfolding is not about revenge. It is about freedom, and freedom sometimes arrives through uncomfortable clarity. In the hours following this shift, pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to sudden thoughts that feel clear and direct. Pay attention to patterns. God often confirms revelation through repetition. If the same message comes through different channels, do not ignore it. Heaven repeats what we hesitate to accept. There is also a financial or practical decision connected to this season. You may have felt pressure to commit to something quickly. You may have sensed urgency from others that did not match your inner peace. That pressure is now being exposed. Divine timing does not rush through manipulation. It flows with confirmation. Archangel Michael's energy in your life right now is about standing firm. Not attacking, not arguing, simply standing in truth. When you stand in truth, lies collapse without you needing to fight aggressively. That is the kind of victory coming toward you. You will notice a shift in your emotional reactions as well. Situations that once triggered anxiety will begin to feel neutral. That is because clarity removes fear. Fear feeds on uncertainty. When truth enters, fear loses its power. And here is something important. Not everyone around you will celebrate your awakening. Some benefited from your confusion. Some benefited from your self-doubt. When you grow stronger, those dynamics shift. Do not interpret resistance as failure. Interpret it as confirmation. There is also restoration attached to this exposure. Once something false leaves your life, something authentic has room to enter. A healthy connection. A clearer opportunity, a stronger sense of purpose. But space must be created first. Midnight represents transition. It represents the crossing from old cycles into new alignment. You are crossing. And as you cross, do not look back with regret. Look back with gratitude that truth arrived before damage deepened. Many people do not receive warnings. Many people only learn through consequences. You are being taught through revelation instead. That is mercy. In the coming days, you may feel lighter. You may feel strangely calm. That calm is not indifference. It is stability returning. The storm that was forming has been weakened. The strategy that was developing hath been interrupted. But remain spiritually alert. Protection does not mean passivity. Stay prayerful. Stay aware. Stay connected to God's voice daily, not only during crisis moments. When alignment becomes lifestyle, confusion rarely gains ground. This is the beginning of a season where you trust yourself again. Where you trust what God chose you without needing endless external validation. Where you move with quiet confidence rather than constant hesitation. And remember this, the fact that heaven intervened proves your life carries weight. Not everyone triggers this level of spiritual defense. Not everyone receives warnings before impact. You did. The next revelation will go deeper into why this battle intensified recently and what larger shift your obedience is unlocking. What you are stepping into is bigger than you realize. Anointed listener, the reason this battle intensified recently is because you are closer to breakthrough than you think. Opposition does not increase around something insignificant. It increases around something valuable. The pressure you felt was confirmation that movement was near. For months, maybe even years, you have been in a quiet preparation season. It did not look dramatic. It did not feel glamorous. It felt slow, sometimes frustrating, sometimes lonely. But preparation seasons are sacred. They build internal strength before external elevation. And the moment elevation approaches, interference attempts to delay it. What you experienced as emotional confusion was actually resistance sensing that it was losing influence. When you begin to wake up spiritually, manipulation loses its grip. When you start asking deeper questions, surface-level answers stop satisfying you. That shift alone threatens hidden agendas. Archangel Michael's presence signifies something important here. He does not engage in minor disturbances. He stands at gateways. He stands at thresholds. And you, right now, are at a threshold. The exposure unfolding is not random conflict. It is a gate closing behind you and another opening ahead. There is a calling attached to your next season that requires sharper discernment. You cannot carry blurred vision into clearer territory. You cannot build stable foundations with unstable connections. That is why certain relationships are being reevaluated. Not because you are becoming cold, but because you are becoming conscious. You may have noticed a pattern in your life where you give too much of yourself too quickly. You extend grace endlessly. You excuse behavior repeatedly. You hope people will change instead of acknowledging patterns. That compassion is beautiful, but when it lacks boundaries, it becomes self-sacrifice in the wrong direction. God is refining your compassion into wisdom. The shock coming tonight is not destruction. It is the final confirmation you needed to stop overextending yourself where you are not equally valued. And once that confirmation settles in your spirit, you will feel something surprising: relief. Relief that you are not imagining things. Relief that you were not overly sensitive. Relief that your discernment was accurate. That relief is the beginning of strength. There is also something larger unfolding. A new opportunity is preparing to enter your life. It may relate to your career, your ministry, your creativity, or your personal growth. But it requires mental clarity and emotional availability. If you remained entangled in confusion, you would miss the opportunity entirely. That is why this exposure had to happen now. Timing is everything in spiritual alignment. If revelation came too early, you would not have believed it. If it came too late, damage would have already rooted itself deeply. But now, at this precise moment, you are ready to see clearly and act calmly. Do not fear the temporary discomfort that follows truth. When illusions break, there is a brief period of adjustment. You recalibrate. You rethink. You reorganize your expectations. But once that adjustment passes, peace settles in a way you have not felt in a long time. Archangel Michael's energy in this phase is about courage without aggression. You are not being called to fight loudly. You are being called to stand firmly. When you stand in truth, the need to argue fades. The need to prove yourself fades. Clarity speaks for itself. You will also notice that your prayer life begins to deepen naturally. Not forced, not dramatic, just honest. You will start asking God for guidance in daily decisions, not just major crises. That consistency strengthens your spiritual immunity. When you stay connected daily, deception struggles to enter. There is a confidence returning to you that feels different from ego. It is quieter. It does not need applause. It does not need validation. It simply knows. That knowing is powerful. And understand this clearly. The enemy hoped you would ignore the warning signs long enough to entangle yourself further. But you paused. You listened. You allowed this message to interrupt your routine. That pause changed everything. Your next season requires a stronger version of you. Not hardened, not cynical, but aware, balanced, grounded. As midnight passes and the new day unfolds, you will sense that something invisible has lifted. Conversations may feel clearer. Your thoughts may feel more organized. Decisions that once felt heavy will start feeling straightforward. You are not losing anything essential. You are shedding what cannot sustain your destiny. And what is ahead carries greater stability, greater authenticity, and greater peace than what you are leaving behind. The unfolding revelation will now begin to show you how to respond practically and how to secure this new clarity so it does not fade. What comes next will teach you how to maintain the protection that has been activated over your life. Brave spirit, now that clarity has begun to rise, the most important step is maintenance. Revelation without discipline fades. Protection without participation weakens. What heaven initiated must now be guarded by your daily choices. You have crossed a line spiritually. You are no longer unaware. You are no longer guessing. Something inside you has settled. But this is the stage where many people slip back into old patterns. Not because they want to, but because familiarity feels comfortable. And comfort can quietly rebuild what truth just dismantled. Archangel Michael's covering over your life in this season is strong, but it is not meant to replace your responsibility. Divine protection works best when paired with obedience. If you sensed who or what was misaligned, do not reopen doors out of loneliness. If you recognized a pattern that drained you, do not romanticize it later. Memory has a way of editing out the warning signs and replaying only the highlights. Guard your clarity. In the next few days, test your peace. When you think about reconnecting with certain situations, notice what happens in your body. Does tension return? Does your mind feel heavy? Or does calm remain steady? Peace is your compass now. God often confirms direction through sustained peace, not temporary excitement. There is also a habit God is asking you to build. Consistency in prayer, even if it is brief. Consistency in reflection, even if it is quiet. You do not need dramatic rituals. You need daily awareness. 5 intentional minutes with God can protect you from 5 months of confusion. Archangel Michael's role as defender is strongest when you remain aligned. Think of it like standing under a shield. The shield is active, but you must remain within its coverage. Alignment keeps you positioned under protection. You may also notice subtle tests appearing. A message from someone you decided to distance yourself from. An offer that looks appealing but carries familiar pressure. An opportunity that seems urgent but lacks confirmation. These are not punishments. They are confirmations of growth. Your response now will prove how deeply this revelation settled. Respond differently. Silence is powerful. Delayed responses are powerful. Thoughtful boundaries are powerful. You no longer need to react instantly to everything. Urgency is often used as a tool to bypass discernment. Slow down when pressure increases. There is something else important here. Your voice matters more than you think. For too long, you minimized your feelings to keep peace externally. But peace built on self-silencing is fragile. True peace includes your truth. It includes your boundaries. It includes your discernment. When you begin honoring your own clarity, others adjust accordingly. Some will respect it. Some will resist it. But either way, you remain steady. If this message has been opening your eyes, take a moment right now to engage with it. Like this video so it can reach someone standing at their own 11:57 p.m. moment. Share it with a friend who has been wrestling with confusion. Comment what shifted for you tonight. Subscribe and become part of this growing movement of spiritually alert people who refuse to ignore divine warnings. When you participate, you help amplify truth beyond your own life. And understand this deeply. This is not about fear. It is about awareness. God is not trying to scare you into obedience. He is trying to stabilize you into strength. Fear creates panic. Strength creates stability. As you move forward, begin speaking differently about yourself. Stop saying you are bad at reading people. Stop saying you always choose wrong. Those statements program weakness. Instead, declare that your discernment is sharpening. Declare that you are learning. Declare that you are protected. Words matter. Archangel Michael's influence in your season also represents courage under pressure. You may need to have one honest conversation soon. Not aggressive. Not emotional. Just clear. And when you speak calmly with conviction, you will feel a surprising confidence rising in you. That confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment. The coming days will feel lighter if you remain firm. The moment you start doubting what God showed you, heaviness will try to return. That contrast will teach you quickly which direction holds peace. And here is something powerful. This exposure was not just about protection from loss. It was about preparation for increase. What is being cleared out makes room for something healthier. But healthy connections require healthy boundaries. You are not the same person you were before this message began. Awareness has shifted you. And once awareness grows, you cannot shrink back comfortably. Hold on to this momentum. There is still one deeper layer to uncover about why heaven moves so urgently and what blessing is quietly positioning itself to enter your life. The next revelation will bring that into focus in a way that strengthens your faith even further. Steadfast soul, now you are ready to understand why heaven moved with such urgency. This was never only about removing something harmful. It was about making space for something sacred. Protection was the first phase. Positioning is the second. When God cries out to reach you, it is not only to stop you from falling. It is to prepare you for rising. You were about to step into a new level of responsibility, influence, or blessing, and misalignment would have corrupted it. Even small compromises can create cracks in strong foundations. And what is coming into your life requires stability. There is a door that has been forming quietly. You may have sensed it as anticipation without evidence. A feeling that something is shifting but you can't yet see where it leads. That feeling was accurate. While exposure was happening in one area of your life, preparation was happening in another. Archangel Michael's presence signals transition between levels. In spiritual history, he stands at critical turning points, guarding what is holy and confronting what threatens it. That same energy has been active around you. You are not just being removed from danger. You are being escorted toward destiny. This next season carries growth that will stretch you, not in a painful way, but in a purposeful way. You will be asked to lead more confidently, to speak more boldly, to trust your inner conviction without waiting for group approval. The reason confusion had to leave first is because leadership cannot function in constant self-doubt. You have underestimated your influence. You think your decisions affect only you, but your clarity impacts others. Your obedience inspires others. Your courage creates ripple effects in places you cannot see. If you had remained entangled in uncertainty, those ripples would have weakened. Heaven intervened because your life carries weight. There is also healing woven into this shift. You have carried disappointment from past betrayals or misunderstandings. You told yourself you moved on, but some of that pain still influenced how you trusted. This exposure was different. It did not crush you. It awakened you. A difference is evidence of growth. Instead of breaking your heart, this revelation strengthened your boundaries. Instead of shattering your faith, it clarified it. That is maturity. And maturity unlocks new assignments. Pay attention to new conversations entering your life soon. Someone with genuine alignment may appear. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just steady and authentic. You will notice the difference immediately. There will be no need to overanalyze their words. Peace will accompany their presence. That is what healthy alignment feels like. Archangel Michael's covering does not isolate you from connection. It refines your connections. It removes noise so that authentic voices can be heard clearly. And when the right opportunity or person enters, you will recognize it without confusion. There is also a creative or spiritual idea forming in you, something you have hesitated to act on. You doubted whether it was the right time, but clarity clears hesitation. What once felt risky will soon feel necessary. Do not suppress that inspiration. It may be part of the blessing that was waiting for this exact moment of awakening. Remember, exposure is not the end of a story. It is the pivot point. It is the moment where direction changes. As this new path unfolds, remain humble but firm. Gratitude will keep your heart soft. Boundaries will keep your mind strong. The combination creates balance. You may look back weeks from now and realize how close you were to making a decision that would have complicated everything. That realization will not bring fear. It will bring gratitude. Gratitude that you pause. Gratitude that you listen. Gratitude that God reached you before it was too late. And here is something deeply important. Do not feel guilty for outgrowing certain environments. Growth is not betrayal. Evolution is not arrogance. When God elevates your awareness, He is not asking you to shrink back to make others comfortable. You are stepping into a cleaner atmosphere. The urgency you felt at 11:57 p.m. with the final call before a spiritual reset. And you answered it by paying attention. That response activated protection and open positioning simultaneously. Now prepare your heart for what is about to arrive. It may not look flashy at first. It may come quietly. But it will carry confirmation, not confusion. The next layer will reveal how to recognize this incoming blessing clearly so you do not miss it out of habit or hesitation. Chosen vessel, what is approaching your life now will not arrive with chaos. It will arrive with calm certainty. After exposure, after protection, after repositioning, heaven does not send confusion. It sends confirmation. And you must be ready to recognize it. The blessing forming around you is aligned with who you are becoming, not who you used to be. That is why it could not enter earlier. If it had arrived while you were still entangled in doubt or unhealthy attachment, you might have mishandled it or mistrusted it. Timing is not random. Timing is worthy. You may notice that what is coming feels different from past opportunities. It will not pressure you. It will not rush you. It will not manipulate you into immediate decisions. Instead, it will invite you. It will give you space to breathe. You will feel stable. Archangel Michael's covering in this hour is not only defensive. It is directional. When he guards a transition, he also ensures that what enters is worthy of your next level. The battle phase is quieting because the pathway is clearing. There is something about your spirit that has matured through this process. Before, you were looking for intensity as proof. You thought strong emotion meant strong alignment. But now you understand that peace is the greater indicator. Excitement fades. Peace remains. This new blessing may relate to work, partnership, spiritual growth, or even relocation. But wherever it touches your life, it will feel like alignment instead of effort. You will not have to convince yourself it is right. You will simply know. Be careful not to sabotage it by overanalyzing. When healthy things appear, people who have experienced confusion sometimes search for hidden flaws. They wait for the problem. They expect the mask to drop. But this time, you must allow goodness to exist without suspicion. That is part of your healing. God was crying because he saw how close you were to accepting less than you deserve. But now he is rejoicing because you responded before it was too late. The window that almost closed has become a doorway instead. You may also feel a renewed sense of purpose rising within you. A desire to clean your space, reorganize your schedule, restructure your priorities. These are not random impulses. They are signs that you are preparing internally for what is arriving externally. Archangel Michael's energy encourages order before advancement. Clear your environment. Clear your commitments. Create space so that when the blessing steps in, it does not compete with leftover chaos. There is one more thing you must understand. This blessing will require responsibility. It will not be heavy, but it will require consistency. The reason exposure had to happen first is because divided focus weakens stewardship. Now your focus is sharper. And with sharper focus comes greater reward. If this message has walked with you from the first word until now, then you know this was not ordinary encouragement. It was divine interruption. It was a rescue before regret. It was alignment before midnight. Now receive this activation in faith. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if you feel this transition taking place in your life. Blessing code 818 is now activated over your path. As you declare it, may peace guard your decisions and clarity guide your steps. And as this new season opens before you, understand that this light must continue reaching others who are standing at their own 11:57 p.m. moment. When you sow into this mission through super thanks, when you join as a member, when you give through the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a platform. You are fueling a river of revelation that reaches hearts just in time. Scripture declares that when you sow generously, you reap generously, and that promise is alive over you now. This is your moment to respond prophetically. Do not hesitate when your spirit feels the nudge. Your giving becomes oil that keeps the lamp burning for someone about to make a life-altering decision. As you release your seed, may doors open before you. May protection multiply around your household. May provision chase you down in unexpected ways. Step into obedience and act now. The final unfolding will reveal how to seal this season permanently so that confusion never regains control over your destiny. Awakened heart, sealing this season is just as important as surviving it. Many people experience revelation. If you preserve it, what God has done in your life through this urgent interruption must now be established deeply so that confusion never regains influence. You are no longer standing in uncertainty. You are standing in awareness. But awareness must become identity. You cannot go back to calling yourself naive. You cannot return to labeling yourself as unlucky in relationships or misguided in decisions. That version of you has ended. Sealing this season begins with acceptance. Accept that God reached you because you matter. Accept that protection surrounded you because your future carries weight. Accept that exposure was mercy, not misfortune. When you internalize these truths, They become foundations rather than temporary emotions. There is a tendency after clarity to relax too quickly. You feel relief, and relief can make you lower your guard. But sealing does not mean paranoia. It means consistency. It means maintaining the habits that brought you clarity in the first place. Return to prayer daily, even if briefly. Return to reflection before major decisions. Return to listening instead of reacting. These small disciplines will anchor you. Archangel Michael's role in the stage shifts from confrontation to reinforcement. The battle was fought, and now the boundary must be guarded. Think of it as rebuilding a gate stronger than before. The old gate allowed confusion to slip through because it was built on self-doubt. The new gate is built on discernment. Discernment is not suspicion. It is awareness balanced with peace. In the coming weeks, you may encounter reminders of your old patterns. Not to trap you, but to test your growth. A familiar voice may attempt to re-enter your life. An opportunity may look similar to one you previously accepted under pressure. The difference now is that you will recognize the pattern immediately. When that recognition comes, you not negotiate with it. The old you would have debated internally for days. The new you will know within moments. That speed is evidence of sealing. That certainty is evidence of maturity. There is also something deeper happening internally. Your self-worth is recalibrating. You are no longer seeking validation from inconsistent sources. You are learning to validate yourself through alignment with God. That shift changes everything. When self-worth rises, tolerance for disrespect decreases. When identity strengthens, manipulation loses access. When peace becomes your priority, chaos loses appeal. God was crying because he saw how much you were worth while you questioned it. Now you are beginning to see it too. Sealing this season also means gratitude. Not gratitude for dissection itself, but gratitude for being awakened before deeper damage occurred. Gratitude transforms painful lessons into powerful testimonies. And your testimony will one day help someone else avoid a similar trap. Archangel Michael's covering remains active, but you are now walking with him rather than being carried. You are participating in your protection. That partnership is powerful. There is a quiet confidence forming in you. It does not need to announce itself. It does not seek attention. It simply moves wisely. That quiet strength will attract healthier dynamics naturally. You will also begin noticing that your time feels more valuable. You will hesitate before committing to things that drain you. You will prioritize what aligns with your growth. That is not selfishness. That is stewardship. The blessing that began positioning itself earlier will start revealing clearer outlines soon. You may receive confirmation through conversation, through opportunity, or through internal conviction that remains steady for days rather than hours. When that steady confirmation arrives, move forward without overthinking. Sealing this season means trusting the clarity you have been given. Do not reopen closed chapters out of nostalgia. Do not revisit spaces that required divine rescue just to prove you are stronger now. Strength does not need to revisit danger for validation. Midnight has passed. The urgent window that almost closed has become a testimony of timing. You responded before it was too late. That response changed your trajectory. And now you are no longer the person who almost missed the moment. You are the person who answered the call. The next revelation will show you how to walk boldly in this new identity without shrinking when others notice your growth. Because they will notice. And how you respond to their reaction will determine how firmly this new season remains established. Radiant warrior, when people begin to notice your growth, their reactions will reveal more about them than about you. This is the stage where your transformation becomes visible. Clarity changes posture. Peace changes tone. Boundaries change access. And not everyone will feel comfortable with the new you. Some will respect it immediately. They will sense the strength in you and respond with maturity. Others may test it. They may push gently against your boundaries to see if they still bend. They may make subtle comments about how you have changed. And they will be right. You have changed. But change directed by God is not betrayal of your past. It is obedience to your future. Archangel Michael's presence in your journey now represents boldness without aggression. You are not called to defend yourself emotionally every time someone questions your growth. You are called to remain steady. When a tree grows taller, it does not argue with the wind. It simply deepens its roots. Expect some misunderstanding. When you stop over-explaining yourself, people who benefited from your explanations may feel unsettled. When you stop saying yes automatically, those who relied on your compliance may feel resistance. But this resistance is proof that your boundaries are real. And here is something important. Do not allow guilt to undo your progress. Guilt will whisper that you are being too distant, too firm, too serious. But examine the source of that guilt. Is it coming from genuine love, or from people who preferred the version of you that was easier to influence? Discernment must continue here. There will also be moments when you question yourself again. Growth is not a straight line. You may have a day where you miss the comfort of old patterns. You may wonder if you overreacted. In those moments, return to peace as your reference point. When you imagine stepping back into old dynamics, does your body relax or tense? That answer will guide you. Archangel Michael stands as a symbol of courage and spiritual identity. You are not meant to shrink when light begins to shine through you. You are meant to stand without apology. This does not mean becoming harsh. It means becoming anchored. There is a new confidence shaping your interactions. You speak slower. You listen more intentionally. You do not rush to fill silence. That composure communicates strength without needing volume. As this confidence becomes consistent, new doors will respond to it. Opportunities that once overlooked you will start aligning. People who operate with integrity will feel drawn to your steadiness. The atmosphere around you is changing because your internal climate has changed. If this journey has resonated deeply with you, do not keep it silent. Like this video so it reaches someone who is standing at their own crossroads. Share it with someone who feels God trying to get their attention. Comment what shifted inside you through this message. Subscribe and become part of this growing community that chooses awareness over avoidance. Your engagement helps this message travel further than you realize. And hold your focus here, because what comes next will solidify your identity even more. The final layer is not about exposure or protection. It is about authority. Spiritual authority. When you respond to God's warning before it is too late, you gain authority over the pattern that always trapped you. The thing that once intimidated you now loses its power. The voice that once confused you now sounds predictable. That is authority earned through obedience. Do not misuse this authority. Use it quietly. Use it wisely. Authority does not need display. It needs discipline. There may come a moment soon where you are asked for advice by someone facing a similar situation. Your words will carry weight because they come from experience. Speak gently. Speak honestly. Your testimony will become someone else's turning point. And remember, you were not rescued to remain passive. You were awakened to move intentionally. Every decision you make now should reflect the clarity you fought to preserve. The next and final unfolding will seal this transformation completely, ensuring that this midnight moment becomes a permanent marker in your life rather than a temporary emotional experience. What is about to be declared will anchor everything you have stepped into. Victorious soul, authority is not something given lightly. It is entrusted after testing, and you have been tested. You were tested in silence, in confusion, in delay, and in emotional pressure. But the difference now is that you did not ignore the warning. You did not silence the conviction. You responded before midnight. That response changed your spiritual position. Authority begins with awareness, but it is solidified through obedience. When God cried out to reach you, and you listened, something shifted in the unseen realm. The pattern that once had influence over you lost legal access. The cycle that almost repeated itself was broken before it could restart. This is not small. There were generational tendencies tied to that pattern. Repeated disappointments, repeated misjudgments, repeated compromises. But by responding in this moment, you interrupted something deeper than a single situation. You disrupted repetition. Archangel Michael's presence during this entire journey was not only about protection from a person or decision. It was about breaking cycles at the gate. When a gate is guarded, what once entered freely can no longer cross without resistance. You now carry that resistance within you. You will notice it in subtle ways. When something feels off, you will not need hours to process it. You will know. When someone attempts to manipulate urgency, you will slow down instead of speeding up. When doubt tries to whisper, your inner voice will answer back with truth rather than fear. That is authority. Authority does not mean perfection. It means awareness combined with discipline. You may still make mistakes in the future, but you will not make the same mistakes unconsciously. The difference is powerful. There is also a spiritual elevation attached to this obedience. When you answer God quickly, He trusts you with more clarity. When you act before it is too late, He increases your discernment for the next level. Your sensitivity to spiritual atmosphere will heighten. You will sense shifts in rooms. You will detect tension before words are spoken. Do not misuse that sensitivity by becoming hypercritical. Use it to navigate wisely. You are also stepping into a season where your prayers carry more confidence. Before, you prayed hoping to be heard. Now, you pray knowing you are aligned. Alignment strengthens prayer. Doubt weakens it. There may be people who notice this new steadiness and attempt to challenge it subtly. Not aggressively, just enough to see if the old you resurfaces. But the old you does not live here anymore. You do not need to announce that you have changed. Your consistency will prove it. And here is something deeply important. Forgive without reopening access. Authority does not require bitterness. You can release resentment without re-entering unhealthy dynamics. Forgiveness frees your heart. Boundaries protect your future. The two can exist together. Bon was crying because he refused to watch you repeat what nearly broke you before. Now he's silent not because he left, but because you are walking correctly. Silence in this stage is trust. Archangel Michael's role now becomes symbolic rather than active warfare. The battle phase has ended. The rebuilding phase is complete. What remains is maintenance through maturity. Look back at who you were before this message began. Notice the anxiety. Notice the confusion. Notice the hesitation. Now look at who you are becoming. Calm. Clear. Steady. That transformation did not happen accidentally. It happened because you paused when it mattered most. There is one final declaration that will anchor this permanently in your life. A sealing that ensures you never treat divine warnings casually again. a reminder that timing is sacred and obedience carries protection. The closing words will not introduce something new. They will confirm what has already been established. And once spoken, this midnight moment will become a permanent marker in your story rather than a fading memory. My faithful one, this is the sealing of your midnight moment. What almost slipped past you has now become a testimony. What nearly repeated itself hath been interrupted. What tried to disguise itself has been exposed. And what God was crying about has been resolved through your obedience. This was never just about 11:57 p.m. on a clock. It was about a spiritual deadline, a line in the sand, a moment where heaven asked, "Will you listen now?" And you did. Because you listened, something irreversible shifted. The cycle that once controlled your reactions no longer has authority. The confusion that once clouded your decisions no longer dominates your thinking. The fear that once whispered urgency into your spirit has been replaced by calm discernment. This is what happens when you respond before it is too late. You did not lose the moment. You claimed it. And now you must understand something deeply important. This will not be the last time God warns you before a turning point. But from now on, you will recognize His voice faster. You will not need crisis to pay attention. You will not need desperation to pray. You will not need heartbreak to awaken. This midnight taught you awareness. Archangel Michael's presence throughout this journey symbolized divine protection standing at your gate. But today, you are not standing behind him in fear. You are standing beside him in strength. You have matured. You have sharpened. You have stabilized. The enemy thought delay would make you miss your window. Instead, delay positioned you for discernment. The enemy thought confusion would exhaust you. Instead, confusion exposed what needed to leave. The enemy thought silence would distance you from God. Instead, silence amplified his whisper. Now seal this in your spirit. You are no longer the person who almost ignored the warning. You are the person who answered heaven in time. Carry this forward. When something feels urgent without peace, pause. When something flatters you without consistency, observe. When something pressures you without clarity, step back. You now move by alignment, not impulse. And as you step into the days ahead, do not minimize what happened here. This was divine intervention. This was mercy before mistake. This was love before loss. God was crying because He refused to let you fall into something beneath your calling. Now heaven is quiet because you are walking in awareness. Receive this final activation. Type "I will never ignore God's voice" again in the comments if you seal this transformation today. Blessing code 1111 is now released over your future. As you declare it, may divine timing surround your decisions, and may discernment guard every doorway in your life. And now hear this clearly as this journey closes. What happened tonight was not only for you. There are thousands standing at their own 11:57 p.m., moments away from decisions that could alter their destiny. When you choose to release super thanks, when you step into membership, when you sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are placing seed into soil that rescues souls before midnight strikes. The Lord declares that when you sow into good ground, your harvest overtakes you. This is that ground. This is that moment. Let your generosity become light for someone still walking in confusion. Let your obedience unlock clarity for a stranger you may never meet. As you give, may doors open over your household. May provision chase you down. May protection stand guard over your family. Do not delay when your spirit feels the nudge. Act now. This is sealed. Midnight has passed, and you did not miss it.